Welcome in. You just found the most entertaining Hawkeye podcast out there. Kev, what's up?
How we doing, Clue Dog?
I like these ones where you hop on, I hop on. We don't say a single word until the red light is flashing and we're recording. These are my favorite.
Is that right?
Yeah, and it's actually, I was going to mention that the several fans wanted you to position your microphone closer to you, but it seems like it is in a good spot for this episode so far because you sound loud.
I think I've been on the phone the last couple episodes.
That's true. That's true. It makes it a little harder. You've been all over the place. You were, and it, Kevin pulled like a Drake here, where Drake gets slumped on the vitamins and then either shows up a half hour later or doesn't show up at all. And Kevin, the only place that I think you could have been for the last 25, 30 minutes, and this is just my one man's opinion, but right before we got on this, it was announced that Paul Chryst is out at Wisconsin. Jim Leonard being elevated to interim head coach. And so that creates a vacancy as a defensive coordinator. And the only thing I can think is the University of Wisconsin zoomed you in for a DC interview. Can you confirm or deny that?
I actually it wasn't a Zoom. They actually flew the PJ down here to Iowa City to get me up to Madison. Had an in-person meeting where they offered me the job. I declined it.
Wow.
And sorry, we were late.
Yeah.
There's something when we got down on the tarmac back in Iowa City that we couldn't get off the plane. So that's why I'm about 20 minutes late. So I apologize.
Mechanical issue. I knew it.
Yeah. They don't make private jets like they used to,
No, they don't. And, with you going out east and then making it back in time to Iowa City for a 5:45 wake up call, tailgate start on Saturday,
Well, they sent the G5, right? And if they even were serious about me taking that job, they needed to send the G6.
Right. Well, I'm surprised. The numbers must not have added up. Clearly, if you decline the job, but it's they would have been lucky to have you, in my opinion.
I mean, yeah, but
yeah, you're right. You're right.
It's a privilege. It's a privilege to have my talents on your organization.
I don't know. Jokes aside, I don't know how much I want to get into that because this is the Michigan recap, and this isn't just a Big Ten football. I mean, it is a Big Ten football podcast, but it's not like our objective here is to go over all the stories. I'm going to save most of that discussion for the live show and Thursday's show, which is usually the weaker of our two shows in season, mostly because we can talk about what's happened. We're not so much we don't so much fancy talking about what might happen, I think is the best way to describe the way that Kevin and I, and probably Drake if he was here, look at the midseason shows. So but initial thoughts on that's crazy.
Shocking, really. I mean, yeah, they haven't played well this year, but they've either won the West or been extremely competitive every year that he's been there, and just have a rocky start one year. And then I'm guessing that he wasn't. Is it possible he wasn't well liked by administration?
Yeah,
I've never heard like the fans disliking him, or maybe it's just a situation where you lose the locker room and then there's just no coming back from it.
Could be that. There's definitely. I mean, it's definitely could be a couple things, but it's not like Pelini when he got outed at Nebraska, because I mean, Paul Chryst is about the most vanilla dude there is. I mean, he's damn near less.
He's like the state of Wisconsin incarnate. Yeah. Just a big dude. You probably love to drink a beer and have a brat with. And
well, that's what I said. Lauren's like, because she's the one who told me as I was kind of preparing for this episode, and I was like, oh my God. And she's like, do you think he is hopping on a plane to go find Frost and hang out with him? And I was like, I don't think he wants to do anything right now. I think he's excited to go mow his lawn tomorrow. Like, that's the kind of guy that Paul Chryst, he's going to get
He definitely looks like he's like the kind of dad that just takes a lot of pride in their lawn
Yeah.
and the yard work. Yeah, so he's
Dude,
probably gonna get some yard
he's
work
gonna
done
throw on a
before the end of
brand
the
new
fall.
pair of New Balances, and he's gonna hop on that rider.
Maybe put some earphones in, listen to the NFL
Yep.
on
And he's
Sunday
gonna
morning.
Yep. And he's gonna
No,
mow the
but
shit out of
that
them.
is a crazy, crazy head coaching change, and I guarantee you it's gotta be something more than just the poor start to the season.
62-23, I think was his record. It's close. I saw it on Twitter. I've already forgotten the exact record, but it is 72% win rate in his tenure at Wisconsin.
Which is damn impressive.
Um, the I think Lauren just stated Lauren follows a bunch of Nebraska accounts, obviously, and someone did the quick math and figured out that he is like one game off of the exact same record that Pelini got fired with at Nebraska.
Oh, really? Who was
Unbelievable.
better?
I think Pelini was. Also a stat that came out was obviously old Bert and Illinois is the one who made him look like shit this past weekend. Maybe even more shocking than him getting fired is Illinois beating them 34-10.
Tell you what, man, I don't know if the lines are out yet, but Illinois is
We're gonna be a dog.
playing good defense this year, and I think we're probably gonna be dogs at Illinois this year.
We're gonna be dogs. I said that immediately. I was doing the post game show on Saturday. I said, "Oh my god, we're going to Champaign, and we are not favored."
I'm looking at it right now. What do you think it is?
It's up.
It's up.
It's probably Illinois minus 2.5.
Illinois by 3.5.
Wow. Wow.
But I mean, they're running the ball well and they're playing good defense. That's a good method to win in the Big Ten.
That is exactly what Wisconsin and Iowa have been trying to do for the past decade to control
But I
the
mean, it's
West.
Brett Bielema. I mean, he coached in the Big Ten at a very highly successful level for a long time,
Yeah.
and he knows the Big Ten. He knows the landscape to like, recruit and get good players and
Yeah.
execute a scheme that he believes in. Didn't work well when he was down at Arkansas.
It's funny how different styles and different coaches can succeed or not succeed depending on where they're at.
In different geographies, yeah. Yeah. That's why I feel like I'm really interested to see how what's his name does down at LSU. Because he's always been like a Midwest guy. Like he was
Kelly.
Western Michigan to Cincinnati to Notre Dame, and then going really out of his element down to, the deep
Brian
South
Kelly,
in
right?
Baton Rouge. See how well he can connect to players down there and recruit and develop,
It's interesting. I think and it's easy to say this right now, and it's not like Illinois is. Although, shit, I mean, at this point,
I mean, what we're in year 2 of Bielema, right?
I was gonna say at this point, it looks like a grand slam hire for Illinois. I mean, I don't know what
I mean,
much more.
they're playing good football, right? They're just not great. They're not going to win the Big Ten this year,
I was a big
but
fan of
they're
Black Santa
tied for
Claus,
first in the
Lovie
West.
Smith.
So,
Well, everybody is.
oh Jesus Christ! What do you think the over under is this week?
Is it out? That's out too?
Yeah,
Wow. Doubtful that it's any less than the Rutgers game was, but it's probably in the high 30s, probably 38.
35.5.
Oh my God. Wow, that might be an interesting play. Oh, by the way, we're gonna get into the bets recap from this past weekend. I just want to say, Kevin, you hated the Alabama boost. The simulators hated the Alabama boost. Alabama minus 17.5 against the Arkansas Razorbacks. That's a fucking hit, baby. And they tried to blow it. The long
Yeah, I was
snapper
about
tried
to
to
say
blow it.
that thing went from okay, Alabama's going to crush them.
28-0.
Arkansas is coming back. They're down by like a touchdown now, and then Alabama just runs away at the end.
I was watching the first half, and I'm like, I'm a genius. Alabama's going to run this team out of town like they're Chattanooga. And then they start, Arkansas successfully does what Frost tried to do with the onside kick. Kicker recovers it beautifully. That might be the special teams play of the week for the entire country. The long snapper, it looked like he thought it was a short snap fake, and he snaps it. I mean, looks like a middle schooler, gives them the ball on their own 3 yard. I mean, I was watching it crumble and I was like, oh no. And then we got a little lucky at the end. God, the talent gap. I don't know if you saw this. I got to send this video to you by that Joel Klatt did. It's a really good 5 or 6 minute video breakdown of the talent gap in college football. Um, you guys can find that on probably Joel Klatt's all of his social medias, but I think I saw it on TikTok. Um, he explains the talent gap between Georgia, Ohio State, and Alabama, and then the rest of college football. And I think the interesting comparison that he had, and I don't know by what metric this was, but the talent gap between who was it? Like USC at like number 9 recruiting class average over the past however many years, and the top 3 was the same at number 9. So the top 3 to number 9 was the same talent gap from number 9 to number 69.
How do you judge talent? Just based off recruiting numbers,
I
or
believe so. I believe it was based on stars, which is not a perfect way to go about it, but
but it's really the best metric that we have, right?
yes, and he was trying to answer the question, why is it that other than these top couple teams, it seems like any team on any given weekend can get beat? And he was explaining like, well, it's because they're basically all got like pretty much the same talent. Like it's pretty close. Um,
Yeah, I mean the margin of like you said, that the top teams up there are feasting, but for everyone else, the margin of victory is really quite small.
yeah, it's
And it's like you can see it's more evident in the NFL, right? And you can condense it down to 32 teams
yes,
with the best players in the world. Um, you can look at it like Vegas rarely sets a line that is more than 10 points. Very rarely. That's
yeah,
only when teams are like just trash and tanking versus, a
right.
Super Bowl contender that year. Um, it takes a lot to win a football game, and
So much. And
we can
fans
roll
don't
that.
understand that. Fans
Yeah.
don't get it. They see, you know, Illinois is a good example in the past. Like until Bielema got there, when Iowa played Illinois, for fans, that's an automatic. But as players, we knew every year this is going to be like we might
It's a
be able to
dogfight.
turn we might be able to turn this into a sure thing by the third or fourth quarter, but it is not going to be easy to get there.
Yeah, those boys are on scholarship too. They want to win. Their coaches get paid a hell of a lot of money to win, and their jobs are on their line if they don't lose. So it's a lot of highly competitive people with a lot to lose, trying their damnedest
Right.
for 3 hours on a Saturday with the entire week just focused on one thing.
Yeah.
Right?
It's
You have 30 people whose livelihood is based off that, and that's their job
yep.
for about 20 hours a day that whole week. And then you got 100 something kids who say they're student athletes. Let's be honest, NIL, we're paying them. They're athlete students now.
Yeah.
And
Always have been.
now they are.
And now they officially are.
Yeah.
Illustrated even more. I just pulled up the score so that we could recap our bets, our picks of the weekend. Georgia sneaks by Missouri. I mean,
Yeah. They didn't lead until there was like 2 minutes left in that game or something like that. Yeah,
two and three,
I was watching the end of that one.
2-3 Missouri almost gets number 1 Georgia. Final score 26-22. It's just people don't understand. Like it's, it's just not easy. But anyway, glad that you're back from the Wisconsin interview and glad that we have you here to recap this game a little bit. Before we do, amazing tweet this morning from our last episode. Our last episode it was one of the most well-received episodes, maybe to Kevin's um dislike on the back half. Kevin didn't like Drake and I's ideas, but I thought that hot dogs was perfect. And we could go several ways with that. I think if we want to start branding the hot dogs inside of Kinnick Stadium as hot dogs, I think that's a great way to go. I think if we want to turn it into a private content, I think that's great too. I've never gotten so many messages that said, "Boys, this is the hardest I've laughed in 150 episodes. Keep doing great work." So, you know what? We're going to keep being assholes. You guys keep tuning in. And I think we can keep this thing going. The tweet that we got this morning, Kev, was that awkward moment, this is from Jacob Engel, that awkward moment when you're about to take communion this morning and the conversation between Tyler and Kevin pops into your head. Washed Up Walk-On's #1 bread, body of Christ. People are thinking about us in church, bro. This is amazing.
That's funny, man.
Oh, shit. If you guys haven't caught up on that episode we did, the Michigan preview from the other day, we did a top 5 bread segment. We did. It was a fun episode, for sure.
I
All
think
right,
I think I got to redo my list, man. I know you told me to prepare. I actually came up with that list on the fly. I think I will submit that tortillas are not bread and should get taken off the list, and I got to redo
okay.
my list.
Yeah, and I was
I did Twitter poll because I asked you guys like what was the ruling on it, and you guys didn't give me a firm ruling, so we had to ask Twitter.
if it isn't a bread though, what is it?
I don't know.
Is it its own class?
I mean, is a hot dog a sandwich? I don't know.
I would almost like to I would almost like to go down the route that you used as like, okay, this piece of food is actually mostly utility. So let's put it in a utility category with hot dog buns and with I don't know, other things that
Right, and it's like, our dessert bread's bread, or we just think, straight like
right.
rye bread, white bread, wheat bread,
Right.
honey wheat.
Yeah. I don't know. A
Not
lot of
really.
things. I also think, there was a couple things.
We need more specific rules on that top 5. So that
Couple
that
things got
election is under protest, and
yeah.
it's working its way through the court system right now.
Yeah.
We might have to storm the Washed Up Walk-Ons headquarters to get that election thrown out.
We're gonna have a January 6th situation at the headquarters, which happens to be.
There's a lot of suspicious things about that top 5 right there.
There's a lot of there's a lot of top 5 fraud claims that are coming in, and as you guys know, the legal system is a slow one. Just know that this is I will treat you if you show up at the Washed Up Walk-Ons headquarters. I will treat you like this is Texas. So that's all I'm going to say. Okay, quickly, let's recap the picks. It was a rough day for me. I thought Oklahoma was good after they beat Nebraska, and the last 2 weeks they've proven that they aren't as good as we thought they were. They aren't who we thought they were. Okay. Oklahoma got absolutely embarrassed by TCU. Same score that we beat Ohio State in 2017, 55-24. TCU improves to 4-0, 1-0 in the Big 12, and they are probably going to be, I believe they play Kansas this week, and I think that's going to be game day.
How about that, man? How about the Kansas Jayhawks?
5-0, beat Iowa State. Iowa State, an abysmal offensive day for them. 11 points. I watched it, and they only had 1 point because they messed up a snap, and the holder ran it in. Caitlin Clark's brother is the holder for Iowa State. He ran it in for a 2-point conversion to get 8, and then they kicked a field goal, and that's all they had. And yeah, I think I saw this online. I need to check. TCU is at number 19 Kansas this weekend, and that's going to be a top 20 matchup, and I'm pretty sure that might be game day. Kansas is going to have game day, Kevin. That explains right there. That's a good, because the Big 12, Kev, looks a lot like the Big 10 West right now. Like everybody can beat everybody.
Wide open.
Yeah. Baylor lost.
Sits above at the top of the rankings.
They do.
Yeah. I mean, the only thing that makes sense is that Oklahoma State's good. I mean, they usually have a pretty solid program there.
Dude, this is the Big 12 rankings right now. Kansas and Kansas State are 2-0. Oklahoma State, TCU, 1-0. And then Texas Tech, Baylor, Texas, 1-1. Iowa State, Oklahoma, West Virginia, 0-2. I mean, things are on it.
Too.
That's a good question. I don't know.
Was it this week?
Texas. Let me just click in on it. That's the beauty of actually using buttons.
Yeah, Texas just beat West Virginia. What the hell?
They lost to Texas Tech last week.
Oh, yeah, that's right. The overtime game. That's right.
Yep, 37-34. So it's wide open there. It's wide open in the Big 10 West. They were -6, and obviously they didn't cover that one. Now, I feel a little bit screwed over. I didn't know that Mo Ibrahim was not going to play this weekend. He was dressed, so I don't know how many people knew he wasn't going to play. Minnesota has been scoring off the walls through these first 4 weeks. They go out and put up 10 points, Kev, at home against a Purdue defense that has been suspect.
Average defense, I'd say so far.
The over under was 50.
I think what it is I think we've kind of learned. I think they played 3 cupcakes to start the year, right?
Minnesota, right?
Yeah. Then they played Michigan State.
Yes.
I think the jury is kind of coming in the door that Michigan State might not be very fucking good this year.
Yeah,
Their
I was
defense
gonna
especially might kind of suck.
I was gonna say we can just retract that and say they played 4 cupcakes to start the year.
Yeah. And then they
So-
played. Yeah, Purdue's the best team they played all year, and
Unreal.
so yeah, maybe they were a little bit of a paper tiger up there in Minneapolis.
Line was set at 51.5. They scored 30 total. I had the over on that. Now, I did squeak by Illinois and Wisconsin, the game that's causing all this controversy to start the episode. The over-under that I chose on was 43.5, and I said over in that game too. It finished 34-10, 44 points. We cover by a half point to not make me go 0-3 for the week. Thank you, Brett Beal and the Illinois Fighting Illini. So I go 1-2. I feel like I'm 2-2 though, because I also chose that Alabama boost. So in my heart, I'm 2-2. For the record, I'm 1-2. Kev, you had Wake Forest +7, and they
won outright.
Yeah.
They either won by 7 or 10. I think they won by 10.
You had the Hawks +11, which after being down 20-0, we're going to get to it here in a second, actually felt like it was within grasp.
I thought the backdoor cover was coming for sure. And if you had told me we scored 14 points, I'd be like, there's like a 90% chance that we covered.
Yep. And you also took the under, which unfortunately
it hit.
Oh, it did hit barely. Yep. You're right.
Yeah.
27-14. That equals 41,
which is less than 42.
So you get a little slide in there too. So 2-1. Kevin proves to 7-5, respectable. I am 5-6-1, and Drake
was 0-2 to start the day.
Who was last? The Chiefs?
Yeah, they're playing right now. The Chiefs and the Bucks.
Okay. Yeah, Drake's struggling this year. Again,
it is fade Drake, man. He is just abysmal at picking.
I'll tell you what, though, too, the NFL is sort of mimicking the Big Ten West.
Well, the NFL is like one of the hardest sports to bet.
It's so tough.
We were talking about earlier, the margin of victory is so slim, and anyone could beat anyone any given Sunday. I hate that I just quoted that, but
any given Sunday, baby.
Yeah.
All right. Like I said, Kevin was out early. When did you get back from your trip out east for work?
Friday morning.
Oh, okay. So it wasn't like a Friday afternoon, Friday night thing where you had to turn around, wake up, get early. So shook off the jet lag. Ward tailgate was up and running by 5:45, and it was a beautiful day in Iowa City.
It was a gorgeous day. You cannot ask for a better day to watch football.
I was gonna say some would say that a cooled off Midwest morning, like it was on Saturday, is damn near perfect football weather. It even got warm at the game in the sun. Big E enters the Fox game day set, Fox Big Noon kickoff set, with our freaking flag on his back as a cape, and then pulls it off and is waving it on national television again. I am not cool, but I was in communication with him this weekend. And I was like, hey, do you need another flag? And he goes, I was about to hit you guys up and say, man, I hope the boys can send me another one. And I was like, dude, well, because he threw it into the crowd after he entered.
Yeah, I love that. He can have as many flags as he wants, because I'm pretty sure he sold about 300 for us last year.
He was worth about half of the 1,000 that we sold. And I told him, bro, like, give me your shirt size and I'm gonna send you a couple things and we got you taken care of. So don't worry about it. Um, isn't that so sick though? Like that's
Yeah,
unbelievable.
I was watching him at tailgate and saw that coming out. That was pretty hype, man.
It's
Big E is
unreal.
just an electric human being.
He is. And he is yoked and he is lean. And
Dude, I would love to see him still on the football field.
I yeah, but his knees are shit. Like he couldn't
Yeah,
he's
he's
he actually put up
he's
a
got the whole neck
picture
thing going on too.
and he broke his neck because some dumbass he was wrestling with didn't know how to do a fucking move. So that hurts literally and physically and figuratively. So he comes out. It's a beautiful morning. There's a hype in the air. Um, and the problem is Michigan played a clean football game, and we needed them to not play a clean football game for us to probably have a chance at winning this thing. Um, correct me if I'm wrong, Kev, but I don't think either team turned the ball over.
That is
Um,
correct.
and that's great for the Hawks. We love to see that on our side of the ball. The problem is to beat a team like Michigan who has talent, um, specifically, and this was surprising to me. Their offensive line torched torched us, um, controlled us all game. We needed an interception, 2 interceptions, a fumble recovery, a special teams snafu on their end. We needed something. We did not get any of that, and credit to them because, to be honest, Harbaugh all week was probably preaching to them, "Hey, if we play clean football, we win the football game."
Yeah, I'm sure they had like the 2016 game playing on a loop in there or something of us like storming the field after
The second
winning
half
on the last
kickoff where
second
they
field goal.
fumbled it
But
to Brady. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, like, yeah, that we don't win that game in 2016. I know we had at least 2, maybe 3 turnovers.
We had the one out of half that Brady recovered on the kickoff.
Manny had a pick too.
Manny had a pick, and there may have been, I mean, we had the safety. So
Mhm.
that kind of counts as that's a turnover. So that's, yeah. I mean, and we gave them one. CJ threw them one late before they kicked it to Desmond at the end.
That was basically a punt, though.
You're right. It was.
It
It
was,
was
it was a third
effective.
down, and he threw a 40-yard pick, so it's like a
Yeah,
punt.
you're right. And we didn't get any of that. Kinnick was a great atmosphere. The strike game looked great.
But I
It's
tell you
not.
what, Michigan did exactly what they had to do to keep Kinnick from getting to his true potential. Is
Yep.
they came out the first drive and just marched down the field, and there's no better way to get a amped up home crowd,
Yep.
a little quiet, a little less enthused than just a dominative first drive.
11 plays, 75 yards, took just over 5 minutes off the clock, and it really felt like
And I
not
think they maybe only had 1 third down that drive.
like I've got it right here, play by play. 1st and 10, 2nd and 6, 1st and 10, 2nd and 3, 1st and 10, 1st and 10, 2nd and 7, 3rd and 1, 1st and 10, 2nd and 10, 1st and 10.
Right, so we didn't even get them to third down. They
It
just moved the ball very efficiently, and kinda like you said, man, it was, their offensive line was just more physical,
Those
and they
boys
were
were men.
right, like, it wasn't Iowa, we weren't out of gaps. We weren't really
No.
missing tackles. We were just getting the line of scrimmage was just getting moved.
Yep. They controlled the line of scrimmage, and if you are at all, um, aware of how really a lot of football works, maybe not so much in the Big 10 and the SEC or the Big 12 and the SEC anymore, but in the Big 10, if you want to establish a dominance in a football game, it's going to start at the line of scrimmage. And boy, did their offensive line looked like some of Wisconsin's in years past. I mean, they were big, they were burly, and they were controlling to what seemed to be to this point in the year through 4 games, like our defensive line who was doing pretty good, but we couldn't get like you said, we were getting moved in the running game, and we pressured McCarthy maybe once all game.
Well, yeah, I mean, Michigan, credit to them, they executed very well. I think they came out with a really great game plan too. I mean, I guess it wasn't super complicated. They just relied on them being more athletic, but they executed great. Like they were extremely efficient in the run game. I think they ran for almost 5 yards a carry.
Let's see.
And in the pass game, it's pretty easy to know what coverage we run. We run a lot of base coverage.
Yeah.
And they didn't force anything. They took one shot that they missed in the end zone. It was just a little overthrown, but it was just short, efficient, quick passes.
They did exactly.
They did exactly what you need to do with a young and inexperienced quarterback, and give him easy plays to make and prevent him from making mistakes. We needed him to make mistakes for us to win this game, and he did it. Credit him. I think I got the stats right here. Went 18 for 24.
Yes.
Not a whole lot of yards, 150 yards, but it was just enough to keep the chains moving, and didn't make a whole lot of mistakes, and that kept the ball moving, and they got points off of it.
He and their offense did exactly what Iowa banks on opposing offenses not being able to do for an entire 60 minutes, and that is take what Iowa gives you, play mistake free, and don't force things. And it sounds so simple. You're like, okay, then why doesn't every team come into Kinnick and just do that against Iowa or when they play Iowa? What? And it's because it's hard. Like people want to take shots. People like to
It's that, and it's also hard to execute at that level of efficiency, right?
For 60 or 70 plays, right?
And then 90. No, there's 131 teams, right?
131.
There's 15 teams that can run the ball as efficiently as they did on us.
Correct.
So that method doesn't work if you're not running for 4 to 5 yards a carry on the Hawks, which 90% plus in the country can't do.
Right. Yeah. They Corum's a great back. We made him earn a lot of what he got, and he had a great day. He ran for 4.6 a carry, 29 carries for 133 yards and a tutty.
I mean, I wouldn't say he did anything too crazy though. It's like it was the offensive line giving pushes. He wasn't making contact until 3 yards, falling forward for a 5-yard carry. He had one good run at the end of the game there. That was the longest one of the game for like 20 yards. We were gapped out, and the C kind of opened up, and it was going to be him versus Jack Campbell. He makes a nice move on him, and then it's just trotting into the end zone from there. But other than that, I wouldn't say he did anything too crazy. I'd credit the offensive line.
Yeah, and it, as far as a recap goes, and anything more that we can say about it, Kev, it made for like a pretty standard, vanilla, boring football game. Like it was very much like, hey, here's a 5-yard play, here's a 12-yard play, here's a 7-yard play.
Right. I mean, the Iowa football defense did what it's kind of designed to do. Is we didn't really let up big plays. We made them earn everything they got, and that's why you had like these long drives. Is 11 for 75, 13 for 54, 12 for 61, and
10 for 67.
Good for us for not giving up long plays and easy touchdowns. The bad part of that is our offense hardly had 3 possessions in the first half.
I was going to say we have to be able to sustain drives that are longer than we can't come out in our first, when you're supposed to have scripted plays that work, and you're supposed to like catch guys off guard before they know how you're going to play them for that 60 minutes. We can't go 3 and out. You can't do that, especially after they dominate you. We do 11 plays and then we throw our defense back on the field. It's like we're not helping ourselves out.
Well, yeah, we're not helping ourselves out on offense, but you're not helping yourself out on defense, not getting off the field, right?
This is true.
I mean, the offense having 3 possessions isn't the offense's fault. Them not scoring on the 3 possessions is their fault.
You're right.
But the fact that they only had a chance to get the ball 3 times,
you're right.
That's on the defense, right?
Yeah, it definitely is.
And
credit them too.
In the first half, they punted once, and it's because the guy tripped over his offensive lineman's foot.
Yeah, on a drop back. Lauren looked at me. It was funny actually. She goes, "Was that his fault, or did they push him back?" I was like, "No, that was on him, and we're going to need about 20 more of those if we want to win this game."
But
credit to them.
I'll give the defense credit though. Is after the first drive in the second half, they marched it down for a 67-yard touchdown again, and I'm just like, we really needed to turn it around coming out of half. After that drive, they kind of stiffened up and think that they went 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out.
Yeah, they went
And then
4 3 and outs in a row, and then the last play of the game when they kneeled it.
now the one touchdown.
After the oh, yeah, you're right. Yeah, 3 plays and a touchdown, you're right. They had a short field. Um, yeah, they did. I mean, the defense is gonna stay in there. They're gonna fight until the end. The issue
Yeah, so I
is
mean, that's the one biggest positive I think I can take away from yesterday is, down 20 nothing and s- can't stop them on defense, can't move the ball in the offense. They hung in there and they still fought. So
yeah,
that's one thing I can be proud of.
I agree, and you know what, Kev? On social media, a couple of the reporters said this, a couple of talking heads said this. Throw us in with them if you want. This is just a washed up long snapper's opinion. Before I even was biased and saw all of the talking heads' opinions, I personally thought, damn, I feel like we actually somehow like if we really are going to take away something from this game, I think we took a step forward as a team. I
I mean, Michigan is ranked number 4. We'll find out where they were at the end of the year. They're a damn good football team, and they
yeah,
made no mistakes. The odds of us winning this game going into it, just talent v talent on paper, wasn't good.
no.
Um,
And when they
and
do
like you
that, it
said,
gets even worse.
we were needing them to make mistakes for us to win this game, or us to maybe force some sort of turnover or something. A good football team came into Kinnick and played a very clean game of football. That leaves you a very limited opportunity to win that game if you're the less talented team, which
Oh,
I think was just clear. It's like every now and then you're going to
y-
play someone who's
you're
better than you, right?
right. I was gonna say, like, this is a respectable loss. This is one that we don't have to feel like compared to the Iowa State loss. This is at least one where we're like, okay, they beat us, right?
Yeah,
Whereas the Iowa State one, we're like, wow, we
yeah,
really
really just beat ourselves there. Couldn't
right.
do anything. Yeah,
Um, offensively, and of course, Petras is going to be a topic of conversation.
I think he had his best game of the year.
Had to,
He had one drive in the first half where he like overthrew 3 guys in a row, and that was hard to watch. But
and that
I
sticks
think
in fans' minds. People keep saying he's consistently overthrowing balls, and if he's going to miss, other than the fucking fourth down where he throws short to Laporta and we're on the goal line,
and
that hurt.
that's one that sticks in the mind too. But
But
if you
those
look at
three,
it as a whole, 21 for 31 for 246.
that's
That's
all. That's all we need from him. If he can do that every game,
if you told me that stat and you told me we scored 14 points this game, I was like, damn, did we squeak this thing out?
right. But
I
for
mean,
some,
we know, I think we know if you would have said Michigan scored 27 points, I'm like, okay, we lost.
right?
I don't think we were expecting to light up the scoreboard on the offensive side of the ball.
No,
Um, Now, is 14 points enough to win most games? No, but you would hope that your championship caliber defense steps up to the task, and I don't think that they did.
right. And and I know you can't just what if this away, but again, on that fourth down where we don't get any points out of that drive, hopefully most games we're getting 3, maybe 7 and we score 17 or 21 offensively. And that might be
Well,
enough.
yeah, I mean, obviously we could have kicked the field goal, but the time of the game was like, we need a touchdown right
No,
now.
I understand, but as far as like the body of work that the offense put together, generally that might result in 17 or 21 points in another game with a different scenario. Um, but again, that's hindsight and sort of piecing things out where you can't really do that. Spencer's
No, I
best
mean
day.
they had some good drives there in the second half.
Yeah,
That 7 for 49, 7 for 78, 5 for 75 for the last drive of the game. Um, they are improving.
they are. I
They
know
are
it,
improving.
and it hurts. It hurts, and it's hard for fans to accept that in a loss, and I get that. Um, but the reality is Spencer played his best game. Our it I don't know if we took a step back because it's Michigan, but we improved against Nevada, we improved against Rutgers in the running game. It started to look pretty decent, and then this week it was pretty brutal. 66 yards of running offense. If you take away the sack yardage, it comes back to like 30 something. Um, Not as bad as Wisconsin's 2 rushing yards against Illinois, which blows my fucking mind, Kevin.
Unbelievable, right?
but it's
Maybe
bad.
they saw that one stat and was like, yeah, that's just embarrassing. Chryst is out.
Worth it, honestly. I mean, that's unbelievable. Wisconsin with the running game that they've had in the past. I mean, the running back that they have now.
Running back, yeah, they got one of the best running backs in the country.
And they ran for 2 yards?
Yeah, unbelievable.
Um, but our running attack just was not even close to what we needed it to be to,
And a couple of our best runs were called back for penalties that really didn't affect the play at all.
yeah,
And that kind of brings us into the penalty discussion. There were some
questionable.
really questionable calls and lack thereof on that game. I felt like I'm never one to want to blame the refs, but there were some
Yeah.
blatantly missed calls. I feel like.
When Coach Ferentz speaks up after the game, and
I mean,
he
he did the old call the timeout to yell at the refs.
yeah. And it's funny, I'm so proud of Lauren too, because she has learned the game and sort of the nuances, and when KF did that, immediately she turned to me and she goes, "Did he call that just so he could chew ass?" And I was like, "Yep, he sure did." Um, and that's what he did. And when KF, somebody as tenured as him and so genuinely soft spoken as relative to other coaches, when he speaks up, people listen, and he was speaking up both in that timeout and after the game. He basically said, he's like, a couple of those calls were not good. Like, I'm not sure what those guys.
Yeah, there was a blatant hold on Jack Campbell in the
Oh
first half
my God.
too that led
Didn't.
them to getting a field goal too. So,
Yep.
a 10-0 ball game going into half is a lot. I mean, it doesn't seem like a lot, but it's a lot more than a 10-13 game. A touchdown and a field goal is a lot more than two touchdowns
Right.
a lot less than two touchdowns when our offense is struggling. But
Yep. And even then, we
the
won't dwell on all this, but we're down 20-0 to start the fourth quarter. Granted, we're about to go in and score that first touchdown. Really promising couple plays on that drive with Nico. The little uh, play to Potabom that got us a third down conversion.
mhm.
You guys can shit on Brian all you want. Motherfucker's trying. You guys call the plays.
And dude, when it's 20-7 around the 2-yard line, I thought he called a great play.
Mhm.
We just did not execute. I mean, yeah, it was a bad throw. Would have gotten taken away from the pass interference call. Arlen Bruce has got to be a lot more subtle with how he
Yep.
does that. You
Yep.
can't just bury your face into the defender.
Yeah.
Either that, or I'm not sure if um, Laporta is coached to stay behind the line of scrimmage, because then
Yeah.
you can do the blocking. But
Right.
it was a perfect play call, a good pass, and he walks in the end zone there, and all of a sudden we're down by 6 points in the fourth quarter.
It's 20-14, and now this game that Michigan has, at least
Controlled
feeling
the
wise,
entire game.
is one mistake away from Iowa
And
housing a pick six, and we're up
and,
one.
and I
Like,
know the field position would have been different, but they went 3 and out the next drive. So now it's 20-14, and we got the ball, and Kinnick is back on their feet.
juice. Kinnick is fucking electric at that point. I guarantee you, and it's a whole different ball game. I agree. And we really were that close, and I know close doesn't count. Um,
Yeah,
Luke
sometimes
Lachey.
there's just a handful of plays that completely change the outcome of a game,
Right.
even if the game doesn't look that close, right?
Yeah. So, positives to take away. I think Spencer took a step, one that we really need him to, especially if we're going to win games, like going to Champaign this weekend.
Yeah,
If
there's just a handful of plays that are going to haunt them when they look at the film
yeah,
on Sunday. But overall, I agree. There's also one bad sack. First play to open up the second
yeah,
half. Brian takes a shot, which I love. No one's open. Offensive line did their job.
yeah,
Spencer's got to get rid of that ball.
yeah. He, yeah, but by no means is he's not, he's not McCarthy. He's not a top half quarterback in the Big Ten, right? But he's better than what he's shown, and he's taking steps, and he's not going to be Bryce Young. He's not going to
We're not
be
asking him to be. We're just asking him to make the makeable plays.
right, right,
And there's a few out there that were very makeable plays that um, didn't get executed, and
right.
you know, gonna pull out the old KF. That's football.
That's
Sometimes
football.
you just don't get it done.
That's fucking football. Two other positives before we move on here to wrap this thing up. I think this was Luke Lachey's coming out game with a couple of the plays that he made. Obviously, the one down the middle where he made the tough catch and then fought like George Kittle to get that yak. That was
How about
cool.
that throw though, dude? That was not even. There was not. That was a damn impressive throw. That
I'd love to
was
see. I'd love
There
to
was
see
like
fucking.
a football-sized window to put that ball in it, and you can make the argument that ball shouldn't have been thrown, but it was thrown in the exact perfect location.
Your spot. I mean, I don't. I'm not one to. I don't want to patronize the fans that are on Petrus's ass more than I need to, but hey, Jimmy, get off the couch and go throw one of those. See how hard that is,
Yeah,
like
that was a damn impressive throw.
great catch obviously too and a fight after that. He ends up getting back to back on that last touchdown to stick us in the end zone. And then one of the concerns last week, Kevin, was we only threw it to Arlen once as far as receivers go, and we actually spread it to 9 different people on the receiving end this week. So
Mhm.
that was better. If we can spread it around, that's going to help our offense for sure. Um, but a loss is a loss. 27-14. The Hawks are what they are. We're 3-2. We're 1-1 in the Big Ten.
And we're
And
still tied for first in the West, boys.
shockingly, we are tied for first in the West with
And
6 out of 7
control our own
teams.
destiny.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. The
I mean, so but looking back, let's look back a month and a half here, right?
yeah.
And before the season, someone was to tell you that the Hawks are 3-2, they lost to Iowa State and Michigan. You'd be like,
Yeah.
I could see that. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Like, it sucks to lose to Iowa State, but it's not like the
It's always a
season.
competitive game. It's always a close competitive game.
Right.
They're bound to get one every decade.
Yeah, no,
And we
the
lost to a good
context
Michigan
matters.
team. Yeah, like,
Right.
would that really have been that surprising to you?
No. No, you're right. It wouldn't have been. People's reaction to that would probably be prefer
Would
win
love to be
against
4-1, but can understand being 3-2.
would love to be 4-1, but didn't expect to be 5-0.
Correct.
Yeah. So, when you simplify it like that, now here's the deal. You can look at it from the other side too. You can say, well, fuck, Illinois just retired Paul Chryst into the ground, right? Then we have a
Yep.
bye week, and then we go to Ohio State where, let's be honest, it's going to be tough we're going to have to fight tooth and nail to be
Yeah, our next
competitive.
2 games are tough football games for sure.
I'm not going to start talking about bowl eligibility, but it ain't a gimme.
The season ain't getting any easier from here.
You'd like to
And
think that you could beat Nebraska, beat Northwestern, who have both looked quite honestly shitty. But
I think those might be the only 2 games the rest of the year that we're favored in. Maybe Wisconsin. I don't know. Jeez, I don't know. What the hell is that line gonna be at for the over under?
dude, that might set the record.
We might see 20s.
Dude, could we see a 29.5 line?
And can
It
we
would
hit
make
the under? And can it hit, baby?
could we hit on a 10-7 game in Kinnick Stadium on a 29.5 over under line and set the record and everyone just be fully tented on that sumbitch? That would be
That would
legendary.
be incredible. But yeah, so we're at Illinois. We're 3.5-point dogs. Bye week at Ohio State. We're going to be 3
3
touchdown dogs at
touchdown
least.
dogs. Yep.
Yeah, maybe more.
I was gonna say we're probably 4 touchdown dogs.
Home versus Northwestern. I'd say we're a touchdown plus favorite.
Yep.
At Purdue, touchdown dog.
Yeah, depend again, these later games are gonna depend on what these teams do too, but
Home versus Wisconsin. I'd say we'd be a slight favorite.
I was gonna say it might be a pick 'em or like a 2-point line.
Mm-hmm. At Minnesota, I don't know. Jury's out in Minnesota. I'm not
3-point
sure
dog
who they are
maybe?
yet. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we'll probably be favored at home versus Nebraska to finish the year. But
Yeah.
yeah, we're 3-2. Maybe favorites in 3 games, and of those, they'll be tight lines. So
It's dude, and again, like I said, we're not gonna go deep into like who's gonna win the West here, but as a broad sort of look at it, it feels like the winner of the West is going to be 8-4 or
They very
7-4.
well might be. I mean, I know we beat them our senior year. I have a hard time seeing how we could beat Ohio State. Every other
Yeah.
game is a winnable football game. As tough as the season's going to be,
Yes.
we might be dogs, but it's very possible path that we go undefeated in the West. There's no
In a
team in the West we cannot beat.
Exactly. In a vacuum, looking at each individual game, we can beat Purdue. We can beat Minnesota. We can definitely beat Northwestern and Nebraska, and we can beat Illinois. We can go. Or who else would be left? And Wisconsin. Fuck. Illinois just smoked Wisconsin. We can win all 6 of those games and end up 9-3. But
We can drop one and go 8-4. We can also
we could also go
win
3-9.
2 and go 5-7 for the rest of the year. So
So
it's going to be what it's always been. We have to win the close football games, and there's going to be a lot of close football games down the back half of this year.
And you know what, Kev? I'll finish with this. That makes me optimistic because unlike Michigan on yesterday, those teams will make mistakes.
Those teams will make mistakes. Those teams aren't clearly better on paper and from a talent perspective. They are
Correct.
Sometimes you just got to admit it. Michigan's a better football team than Iowa.
On paper, every year. I don't know the last time. I'm not sure how far back you'd have to go to say Iowa clearly better talent.
Maybe it's Rich Rod days, but that's
you might have to go back to fucking Niall Kinnick.
No, I'd say the Rich Rod days in like the 220. Yeah, I don't know, man. They had a couple good teams those years too, but
Ohio State and Michigan are always going to be that way, right? But every other team on the schedule, Wisconsin some years, but clearly not of the last couple years. Like our recruiting's been good. Like you said, we've got a chance in every single freaking game. And if those teams make mistakes, our defense will start to put the clamps on them. We will get turnovers. We will play the special teams field position game, and Iowa finds ways to win those games. You and I were a part of a shitload of them, and that makes me optimistic.
Yeah, exactly. I hear you, man. As frustrating as the fans are out there, every goal that we have for this year is still ahead of us,
which is wild.
It's going to be hard. Like I said, there's 7 games left in the year.
Yep.
There's 6 very, very winnable football games out there.
Yep.
A 7th, to quote the Walmart man. I'm not going to say the quote, but
I will. Hawks, you're going to need a fucking prayer.
Columbus might be a tough one.
Again, but like that's not a bad thing. Unless you're Ohio, like I said earlier, unless you're one of those top 3 teams, you're not expected to win every single game either. Like it would be great to win every game, but sometimes you have to like call a spade a spade. Hey, you know what? It'll be tough. Could the Hawks go in and beat Ohio State? Absolutely. I know it because we were a part of a couple games like that. Is it going to be extremely unlikely? Probably. That's okay.
They looked human at times. I mean, they started off slow first half versus Arkansas State. They played Notre Dame really tight, who Notre Dame is not having a good year.
You're right.
First game of the year, I know it kind of comes with an asterisk by it, but that's a team that had a good defense and a poor offense, and the game was 21-10. So
yeah. Let's see. Any other things I wanted to mention before we bounced out of this recap? I don't know. A small part of me kind of likes the parity in the West, and it kind of likes the parity in the Big 12.
It makes it fun to watch, man. If nothing else, if you're just a fan of Big 10 football, you got 3 good teams in the East.
Yep.
So you're gonna get some good ball games to watch over there, and you got the West that I think that there is a very realistic chance that 3, maybe 4 teams can win it.
I would say almost undoubtedly, at least through this first 5 weeks of college football this year, since we came into college, Kevin, and 10 years ago. Fuck, dude, we're old. 10 years ago, almost, we came into college football. 9 years ago. The gap from first in the West to 7th in the West is almost you can't even. You don't even know what it is.
Our first year wasn't East and West. We were in the.
Oh yeah. Leaders and
Were we
legends.
the leaders or were we the legends? I forget.
I believe we were the leaders.
We were the leaders.
Yeah. But the gap is so small, right? Like there's a chance that the way that it plays out this year that the 7th place finisher in the West could have a win over whoever wins the West. And just because of like a one
Not the
game
7th
difference,
place. I don't know. Maybe. Who
maybe.
knows?
I don't know. It's going to be
But
nuts.
I think if you told me Purdue, Illinois, Minnesota, or Iowa ended up winning the West, I'd be like,
Yeah.
all right. And how about
Yeah.
that Illinois? How would you like to be holding an Illinois Big Ten West champion ticket right now?
Oh,
I
I'd love
think
to know what the odds
oh
are
man,
on that.
what was the odds going into the year? They were like plus 3,000 to win the Big Ten, maybe more. To win the West, it was
What?
slightly lower than that, maybe plus
Plus
2,500.
Oh god.
$100, you might be sitting on $2,500 right now.
Jesus Christ. That'd be nice. And I'm sure that some sick Illinois fanatic did it too, right? Like there's always
Oh, of
people that
course,
do
yeah.
it.
And Purdue was a popular pick preseason to maybe come out of the West.
Yeah.
Minnesota, I mean, beat Wisconsin last year is probably a top. We should find the odds at some point and see
We will.
preseason what they all were at.
We'll do that and we'll talk. I'll do that and I'll write it down and we'll bring them up on Thursday's show.
Cool.
All right, cool. Well, that was episode 356. Probably not as entertaining as Drake and I's ensemble from last episode, but that's okay. Sometimes we gotta put the balance in it. Kev and myself, you'll hear us again on Thursday. We hope you have a fantastic week. Buckle up because, as we said, we're gonna be in a dogfight in Illinois, back closer to Kevin's homeland, and everything is still on the table, folks. Hold the optimism in your hand and cherish it because we still have it. Until then, we'll talk to you later. Peace.